Hi, thank you for watching Digging to China. I'm Dong Xiang. The first people in the world to receive a COVID-19 vaccine were not part of a clinical trial. No TV stations or newspapers covered the historical event. No company issued a statement. On February 29, less than 2 months after the world awakened to the threat of the new disease, virologist Chen Wei, a major general in China's army, and 6 military scientists on her team stood in front of a Chinese Communist Party flag and received injections of an experimental COVID-19 vaccine. The photo received wide play on social media. Commentators inside and outside of China later questioned whether the event was true. In the United States, the Trump administration's $11 billion Operation Warp Speed accelerated vaccine R&D faster than many researchers thought possible, specifically for the US population. But an equally massive effort unfolded in China. Chinese bio companies are investing substantial resources, testing 4 candidates in tens of thousands of volunteers around the world, and are likely only days or weeks away from announcing the outcomes of efficacy trials. China's vaccine effort is following a very different course from those in the United States and Europe. Most leading Western vaccines rely on advanced technologies such as genetically engineered viral vectors, designer proteins, and snippets of RNA. 3 of China's 4 leading vaccine candidates use an unfashionable stalwart, the whole inactivated virus, an approach that dates back to the first successful flu vaccine in the 1930s. With aggressive public health measures, including forced isolation of cases and the testing of entire cities, China has largely succeeded in stopping the spread of the coronavirus. Therefore, China's effort has lost the opportunity to test the efficacy of their vaccine, whereas the raging pandemic in the United States has enabled trials to quickly deliver signals of efficacy. In order to test a vaccine, China's vaccine developers have gone abroad. Although the United States has shut them out of Operation Warp Speed, they have brokered deals with 15 other countries on 5 continents. They have mounted massive trials in the Arab world and navigated toxic politics in Brazil, where the pandemic is raging fiercely. But China isn't just seeking promising venues for clinical trials. Not urgently needing the vaccine at home to fight a virus it has largely quashed, it is playing a global game by pledging to send any proven vaccine to countries that are conducting trials for its candidates, or to share the technologies behind them. Yang Zhonghuang, a global health specialist at the Council on Foreign Relations, says the country is, quote, actually using the vaccine to promote the diplomacy of foreign policy objectives and aims to fill in the void left by the United States, unquote. Stephen Morrison, who directs the Global Health Policy Center at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, says, quote, it is a very carefully executed and carefully thought out strategy. The strategic goal of the Chinese government is to achieve hegemonic influence in the bioeconomy within the next decades, unquote. Sinovac Biotech and the China National Biotech are taking a traditional approach, vaccinating people with the whole killed virus. This requires no sophisticated protein or RNA design or genetic engineering. Scientists simply inactivate the virus with a chemical and mix it with an adjuvant that effectively puts the immune system on full alert by irritating it. In theory, such vaccines can produce broader antibody and T-cell responses because they contain the full set of viral protein rather than a single one such as a spike. And unlike mRNA vaccines, which have to be stored at a sub-zero temperature, inactivated virus requires no more than ordinary refrigeration. But many scientists view inactivated virus vaccine as outmoded, difficult to make in high volume, and potentially dangerous. Warp Speed outright rejected the approach. A major worry is that inactivated SARS-CoV-2 vaccine might trigger more severe illness, known as enhanced respiratory disease, in immunized people who do get infected. Basically, if a vaccine triggers ineffective antibodies, they can form immune complexes that clog the lungs. UAE has become the cornerstone of China National Biotech's efficacy trials and is following China's controversial lead in allowing people to receive the vaccine outside of clinical trials. But diplomacy and commerce also drove the decision. UAE's enormous foreign workforce means trial participants come from 125 different countries. If you can prove these vaccines work in UAE, people would think that the vaccine would work in their countries too. China hopes to build goodwill for its Belt and Road Initiative, a massive investment in infrastructure in more than 100 countries to increase trade. Critics have charged that the Belt and Road Initiative is debt trap diplomacy that's a form of neo-colonialism. China wants to work with these countries and prioritize them to have the vaccine to facilitate the implementation of this initiative. China may be hoping for a public relations benefit as well. UAE and many of the other collaborating countries have large Muslim populations, which could help mitigate human rights complaints about China's treatment of Uyghur Muslims in Xinjiang province. China chose to navigate Brazil's daunting politics because with an out-of-control pandemic, the country is a magnet for vaccine testing and is desperate for vaccines. Turkey in September launched a 13,000-person efficacy trial of Sinovac vaccine. The 3 Chinese manufacturers also have large efficacy trials planned or underway in Indonesia, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Chile. China is not waiting for the phase 3 results before widely using the vaccines at home. Its regulators appear to be satisfied with animal studies combined with the minimal safety and immune response data from phase 1 and 2 trials. In June, CanSino received an emergency use authorization to vaccinate the military, and since then, both Sinovac and CMBG have received green lights to vaccinate large populations outside of clinical trials. Morrison says the Chinese government has clearly decided at the highest level that it's worth the gamble to create facts on the ground and gain a global marketing advantage by having the first COVID-19 vaccine in wide use. It's high risk and it's a potentially high gain, he says. Ray Yip, who closely follows COVID-19 vaccine development as an advisor to Bill Gates, says China's middle class may prefer to receive a vaccine from a reputable foreign company. Quote, "Their level of confidence in Chinese-made vaccine is quite low because of all the repeated scandals," unquote, he says. AstraZeneca and Pfizer have agreements to produce their products with Chinese manufacturers. They will outsell the CMBG, Sinovac, and the CanSino by 10-1, and they will charge 10 times more, Yip predicts. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. Just click the subscribe button right here. I'll see you again shortly.